Welcome to Great Notley Garden Village, a new development under construction near Braintree in Essex. Here, several thousand people are building new lives and a new community for themselves on a 465-acre site. There are houses of every conceivable size, from 5-bedroom luxury homes to small 2-bedroom apartments. Most of the houses have been built, but about 500 are under construction or still on the drawing board. Today we meet a site manager having a difficult time, Andrew Knights.
Fairly glum this week, but managed to smile through it all.
And an artist who's hoping to get one of her sculptures put up in the village.
A 6-foot human being will come to about here, and they'll be able to stand in the centre.
But we start in the Willows Edge area of Great Notley, where the developer is building a group of 76 medium-sized private houses, costing somewhere between £100,000 and £250,000. But on the edge of Willows Edge, something different and slightly controversial is going up. It's a block of what's known as affordable social housing, which, roughly translated, is the modern equivalent of what I used to know as council housing. And not everybody is happy with the idea. To find out what's going on, I've come over to meet the developer's site manager, who's called Mike Lawrence.
Mixed tenure is what you're looking at now in housing. We're looking to put social housing, we're not creating new estates. If you like the old-fashioned council estates, we're putting social housing in amongst housing for sale.
But you as a developer wouldn't want to do that, would you? I mean, are the councils putting pressure on developers to do things like that?
It's not really. It's not pressure. It is, if you like, housing policy now. It is the way of the industry.
And are they going to be as good as the other houses that are around them?
They're built to an equal specification.
Are they?
Yes.
That's what they're going to look like.
These are our house type, which are the same as we're looking at behind us here.
They look at that's like the same houses that you're selling up the road.
They certainly do. Internally, they may be slightly different, not to a lower specification, but with these being actually owned and managed by a housing association, they have maintenance to consider. So they're looking at their own standard items, perhaps, to go into these.
Do you build these and then sell them on to a housing association?
No, we don't. The housing associations are our clients. We are building for a housing association.
Housing associations, like this one, provide homes for people who can't afford to buy them. When these houses are finished, they'll be allocated to people on the local housing waiting list. But not all the new residents of Willows Edge who've bought their homes are happy with it.
Well, there it is, taking shape. This is Kurt Finch, who we met when he was moving in with his wife and his daughter and his dog, who's somewhere around at the moment. And we've seen you a couple of times since. You live just around the corner from the social housing, affordable social housing. Yeah. Did you know it was going to be here when you first moved in?
No, we didn't. I mean, we knew there was social housing on the development, and we knew there's a small percentage of it, but we didn't know it was going to be here specifically. And of course, I was in Cape Town. I was on holiday for 2 weeks when I found out, so I went ballistic. I wasn't happy about it, but you know, at the end of the day, we were sort of 3/4 of the way through the sale, and we just had to make a call, and we'd gotten that far, and we just said, right, we're going to go ahead with it. And I think right now we've just sort of resigned ourselves to the fact that's there, and we've just got our fingers crossed that it's going to turn out okay.
What was your major concern, that it was going to devalue your house?
Yeah, sure. In the long term, I think it's not. I'm not going to get the equity that I would under normal circumstances, in a different area.
Right.
But obviously, too, it's the sort of people that you mix with, because you've got children. You live close to. Although you've got houses, you're still really close to one another.
Yeah.
So you've got people vandalising and that, and it could be a problem.
I'm sure he's got nothing to worry about, which is a good thing, because eventually there will be 178 units of social housing scattered across Great Notley, the result of a government ambition to reduce the gap between private and public ownership. Now, when the developers of Great Notley started out, one of their ambitions was to create a place with character. And to help it along, they invested in public art. Several years on, one of the final commissions is about to be handed out. I went along to see one of the artists competing for it.
Now, if you've been following this series, you'll know that they're running an art competition in Great Notley for a sculpture to go on the giant mound in the country park. There are 3 finalists, and one of them is Anne Wesley, who already has a wooden sculpture in the community centre. She lives here in a little village just outside Great Notley, and I've come to meet her.
Anne's existing piece of art in Great Notley is a mural commemorating the work of a long-dead local ecologist. When I went to see her, she'd been collecting large pieces of oak bark for her new sculpture. I confess it wasn't immediately obvious to me what she was going to do with them.
I ought to see what it is that you've proposed and see how this fits in with it. Where is your studio?
My studio is just across the garden here.
So you do all your work here in this country garden?
Yeah, most of it. I do some work in the house when it's cold.
Do you?
Yes, because it gets very cold in here in the winter.
Oh, you've got a lovely little workshop.
Yeah, it's terrific. It's just a double garage, but I've got my 2 printing presses in here, and I make my sculpture here too.
Is this it?
This is a piece of work, yeah.
Well, I don't want to be rude, but why do we need one of these on top of a hill? What's it going to do for the people of Great Notley?
That's a good question, because I sometimes do think that objects take up too much space in our lives.
Oh, right.
And one of the thoughts behind this piece of work was to actually reduce the sculpture down to the most simple and elemental of forms. So the space within the sculpture is actually as powerful and as present as the form itself.
A photo montage of Anne's idea shows a sculpture about 15 to 20 feet tall, inspired by a tree. Some of it will be clad in a metal cast of the bark we just unloaded.
This is representative of the end grain, or a cross-section of a tree trunk. So when the spectator stands in the middle, it's as if they're standing in the centre of the tree, or the space where the tree might have been. So they can imagine it, either the tree form.
Do you really see all that?
Yes, of course.
I mean, honestly, I sometimes wonder, when I hear artists talking like things like that,
Yes.
I think, no, they drew it, and then they made up a load of waffle
No, it comes through a
to
long-
please the people that are buying it.
Process of thinking, however irrelevant it may seem to most people's lives.
So there's going to be an imaginary tree trunk there in your mind, which is going to blossom within this circle.
No, in a sense,
Sort of.
actually, the tree. This, in a sense, is the tree trunk here.
Oh, right.
And on the outsides of this vertical upright will be the castings taken from a tree trunk.
Anne's sculpture was shortlisted by a committee drawn from the developers and a number of local residents. 2 other artists are also in the running. One has proposed a large metal disc, or time tumbler, as he's christened it, which will perch on top of the mound. The other is a huge bird of prey by an artist who already has a piece of work at Great Notley.
You know, Great Notley has this huge amount of public art.
Yes.
Probably more than any other area of it that size in the country.
Yes.
How important do you think that public art is?
I think it's absolutely crucial in everybody's lives. Art, right from sort of small objects or paintings in people's houses to sculptures on hills, or in the centre of town. They're all.
Does that fit in there?
They're all life enhancing.
Is that about right?
No, I think because that bit of grass on the edge, it goes on the outside. I think maybe we should leave it more or less as it is before any more bits fall off.
No, OK. You don't want to ruin it for you.
No, because it's going to be hard enough casting it anyway.
That's going to be the sides. Well, it's going to be part of the side, the sort of the outside legs of it. This is if you win. How important is it for you to win, and how stiff is the competition?
Well, I know the competition is stiff because, I know who the 2 other artists are, and I know their work is a very high standard, they're professional artists, as I am too. But I haven't had many public commissions, and so this one is make or break time for me.
We'll be back to see the result in a couple of weeks' time. Join Join us after the break when I help with the next stage of putting up some luxury houses.
This is the greenhouse effect.
And I meet a man with an all-consuming hobby.
There's 3 years' work involved in this.
3 years' work? Welcome back to the village, where I've come over to the Hunter's Lodge building site. Here they're building 22 large family homes, 10 in various stages of construction, 12 still to start. But we're here in particular because inside one of these houses, an important stage in the construction process is pushing ahead.
This is one of the luxury timber framed houses in Hunter's Lodge, and we've seen all sorts of stages here. This is the insulation stage. Andy's putting in the stuff which is fiberglass, which is why I have to wear this, and also these, because apparently it makes you itch like crazy. And see what he's putting in. Well, I guess this is what he's putting in. What sort of... Ooh, it's just unfilled itself. What sort of width is it, Andy?
This is nearly 6 inches thick, 140 mil.
And this is just for basically keeping everywhere warm.
That's it, yeah.
And it has to go against every outside wall within the house.
That's right, yeah. Every external wall.
Right. Go on, you show us what you do, and then I'll have a bit of a go. Oh, I've got my knife. He's got a knife as well, but you can see I've got one on here, which is a very, very sharp knife, which is why it has to go in that holder there. Right, next piece.
Rightio.
How do you know how long to... Oh, I see, you just hold it up, offer it up against it.
Just line it up at the bottom. Chuck it in.
Like that. Oh.
All right. And cut it off.
Between my feet.
All modern timber-framed houses are insulated like this, using hundreds and hundreds of metres of fiberglass padding.
Sort of there-ish.
That's it.
How long does it take you to do a whole house?
This one will probably take me 4 days.
4 days?
Yeah, it's quite involved, this one.
After the insulation comes the plastic lining, what's known as the vapour barrier. And that's even trickier. It's a bit like lining the whole building with a giant plastic bag. And that's what makes it really difficult, because the lining has to be one continuous strip.
Right.
This is the greenhouse effect.
The aim is to protect the timber walls from moisture coming from inside the house, because the average family generates several pints of water vapour every day. Cooking, washing, and just, well, sweating. And if that gets into the walls, you've got a problem.
Oh, I've got to have a go at doing that. Do you mind? Right.
There you go.
Stretch it out like that.
That's it. Yeah, nice and tight.
Is that tight enough?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah?
That's it. Just hit it like a hammer. Fill it up.
How do you do the top?
Stretch.
Stretch!
That's it. Afterwards, we just run the blade on the inside. And then we tape round that afterwards, just with like a 2-inch tape. And that seals it.
I thought I'd seen it all. But then we came to the final stage, insulating the roof. That's when I realised what a truly nasty job this really is.
I can see myself making a right mess of this. Oh, there we go. Oh, look at this. This is clever stuff. This is chopsticks. That one's a bit long, I think. Or if... And then it bursts through like that. You get, oh, God, it goes in your eyes, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
In fact, it gets everywhere. And Andy doesn't even wear gloves.
That is nasty stuff to be working with, that fiberglass. I can feel it all over my face just from that one little piece I put up, and also on my hands, even though I was wearing gloves. Andy's been doing it for 12 years. He finds breathing a little more difficult than he used to. He's got problems with his knees, his hip, his arm there, rheumatism in his thumbs. The man is falling apart simply because he's keeping luxury houses warm. We should remember that.
Well, summer is nearly upon us, but the weather has been as unpredictable as ever. And over the last few days, we've been forced to take shelter several times. Site manager Andrew Knight has been having to do the same.
It's been a while since we talked to Andrew, the site manager at Willows Edge, and here we are sheltering from the rain, and I think he's probably had a bit of a bad week. Isn't that true, Andrew?
Very true, actually. I've had an absolutely awful week, and it's still a miracle how I managed to smile through it. But we had quite a lot to get done this week, as we had quite a lot of handovers for customers. Not moving in this week, but they're moving in next week, so we need a good week to make sure the houses are finished and up to scratch for them. Unfortunately, a lot of the labour that I need to get these works sort of completed and carried out have let me down. All booked in, well in advance, and booked in quite critically, so one follows the other. When one of them decides to go home because they've got to have a new brace fitted, or their wife might have a headache or whatever, you know, it sort of messed things up for me, really. The following trade then can't carry on, so it sort of puts me back, and I tend to be running about pulling my hair out, which you can see I haven't got much left, so, you know.
So do you then get on the phone to try and find someone that can do the job?
Well, we're straight on the phone, but with the advent of technology, most people run their business on mobile phones now, and if they decide they don't want to talk to you, they can make themselves sort of invisible quite easy, so good thing in one sense, but not in the other. You know, it's that's the trouble, really. They'll see your number come up, don't want to speak to him, I'll just let him down, I'll ignore that, and that's what generally happens.
But Andrew's not a man to give up, and the next day he was bustling round the site, pulling things into shape. As he does so, I'm going over to one of the oldest parts of the village, where I'm told the community spirit is alive and flourishing.
The great thing about Great Notley is that there's always the unexpected just around the corner. Like here, Brian Ribbons is upstairs in his house and he's doing something unusual. It's actually model making, and it's seaplanes. Well, at least I think that's what they're called. Are they seaplanes, Brian?
Well, yes, they are, but particularly flying boats, aircraft that are designed to land on water rather than Mother Earth. They are, in fact, flying boats.
Boats, right.
So it's a hobby of mine. I suppose I've been doing it for about 40 years now. The idea being to build as many as I possibly can.
You've got some really big ones over here. What are they? Can we have a look at those, or are they incredibly delicate?
Now this is where it's going to take me a little while to get it out.
Okay.
This particular aircraft...
Don't break it. Don't break it for us.
There's 3 years' work involved in this.
3 years' work?
That is a scale model of the Mayo composite flying boat.
And it really did fly with another plane on top of it?
Yes, it did. Yes, piggyback fashion. The top plane, called Mercury, was flown by Squadron Leader Bennett. He is Bennett of Pathfinder fame from World War II. And basically, this aircraft took off from Western Ireland, flew out across the Atlantic, and at a certain distance out, the bottom aircraft would drop, and the top aircraft would carry on to New York with mail. It was a very, very fast aircraft.
Do you want to put it back in? I'm nervous of it being out. Do you enter competitions with your model building?
I have done, but I don't build for that. I've won trophies, I've had articles published and that sort of thing. I build it purely and simply for my own pleasure.
Brian's got a collection of several hundred models, more than he can possibly display. And as he talked, I had to remind myself I was still in Great Notley and not in some flying boat museum.
You know, before I said that there's all sorts of surprises in Great Notley. Do the people of the village know that you do this?
Oh, some do. The regular gang around here do, because
You've
they've
got a
been here.
name for the regular gang round here, haven't you? What is it?
Oh, it's not my name. It's the Pochard Posse.
Pochard Posse.
Yeah.
Are we on? Isn't Pochard the road you're on or something?
Yeah, it's Pochard Way out
Oh,
there.
right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And they know all about it.
Oh, yes, I can be very boring with them if I need to be. We've all got individual hobbies, though.
Have you?
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's Dave across the road, he's got his kit car. And there's Archie down the road that's dead keen on Formula One motor racing.
So you've fallen into a nice little niche here, haven't you?
Oh, it's been super. Yeah, it really has. It's amazing, really. It's like finding a whole different family. We all moved in together, virtually, although we were the first ones here. But as the people moved in, something happened, because 20, 30 of us now, 5, 6 years on, haven't been apart for those 5 or 6 years. We've been abroad together, we've been on holidays together, we do stuff, we make use of our lives together. If I've got a problem, one of those guys can help me out, and vice versa. I haven't found that anywhere else, wherever I've lived. And I moved up from a town in the south of Essex where I didn't even know who the next door neighbour was.
That's nice.
It's absolutely amazing. Never seen it before, and probably won't again. But this place has been a revelation.
You're a happy bunny, you, aren't you?
Oh, I am when I'm doing this.
I'll leave you to it. Thanks ever so much.
Bye-bye.
Ta-da. Well, who'd have thought that that was going on upstairs in that bedroom? You never know what's happening behind closed doors, do you? It's all part of the rich tapestry of life in the village.
Join us again when we return for another episode in the life of Great Notley Garden Village.